Evan Carter worked the night shift at Station 9, a quiet maintenance hub orbiting the serene planet Theralus. The station was old, its metal halls echoing with the soft hum of machinery and the occasional hiss of pressurized doors. Most of the staff had moved on after the war ended, leaving only a skeleton crew of essential workers. Among them, Evan had chosen a life of simplicity, trading the chaos of human settlements and starships for the steady rhythm of cleaning hallways, fixing pipes, and polishing the floors until they gleamed under the pale artificial light. But Evan had a secret, one that could have cost him everything if discovered. Hidden deep inside one of the maintenance quarters were two children, no ordinary children, but small glowing beings with eyes like liquid silver, and markings that shimmered faintly in the dark. They were Lyra and Keo, twin orphans of the Valari species, the last survivors of a destroyed royal convoy. 3 years ago, Evan had stumbled upon their escape pod while clearing debris near an asteroid field. The pod had been badly damaged, its logs corrupted, and there had been no sign of the adults who had been aboard. Only the twins had survived, crying and frightened, unsure of what the future held. Evan had done the only thing he could. He had taken them in, hidden them, and raised them as his own. They called him Dad, and he had embraced the title even though it reminded him painfully of the daughter he had lost long ago during the war. Every day he taught them to speak, to read, to understand the strange universe they had been born into. Lyra loved stories of Earth's blue skies and oceans, while Keo was fascinated by tales of human heroes, their courage and determination shining through history. Life at Station 9 was quiet, almost peaceful, until the past began to creep back. Evan had noticed strange patrols in the surrounding sectors, ships without markings scanning the void as if searching for something or someone. He had a sense of unease growing in his chest, though he could not explain it fully. He tried to dismiss it, telling himself that the twins were safe, that he had kept them hidden from a galaxy that might not have been kind to them. But deep down, he knew it was only a matter of time before someone came looking. One evening, the twins were playing quietly in the small living quarters Evan had converted for them. Lyra sat on the floor, tracing glowing chalk lines across the wall, creating patterns and shapes that danced under the soft lights. Keo was stacking blocks, building towers that teetered dangerously before collapsing with a soft crash. Evan moved silently through the corridor outside, inspecting pipes and panels when the station lights flickered. It was a small, almost imperceptible wobble at first, but it grew stronger until the hum of the station was accompanied by a low, insistent alarm. A notification flashed on his console. Incoming vessel unauthorized docking. The insignia that appeared made Evan's blood run cold. A silver crest he had only seen in ancient Valari records. The royal crest of Valar Prime. His heart pounded in his chest. This could only mean one thing. The mother of Lyra and Keo had found them. The queen, thought dead or lost in the destruction of the royal convoy, had arrived. The hangar doors opened slowly, revealing a massive silver ship, its hull gleaming under the station's floodlights. Evan watched as tall armored figures stepped onto the platform, moving with precise, disciplined grace. And then he saw her. Queen Seraphine of Valar, the ruler of a devastated world, her presence commanding and almost blinding. Her armor glowed faintly, and her eyes shone like twin suns, filled with both authority and pain. Human, her voice echoed across the hangar, calm yet carrying a weight that made Evan's knees weak. "Where are my children?" The twins froze, hearing the tone of her voice. Lyra's hand flew to her mouth, and Keo's blocks fell from his tower. They looked at Evan, wide-eyed, their markings pulsing with light. Lyra whispered, "Mother?" Keo echoed softly, "Mom?" Evan's mind raced. He had anticipated danger, yes, but not this, not the queen herself. He wanted to explain, to tell her that he had saved them, that he had protected them, but the words lodged in his throat. The queen's gaze swept over him, scanning, judging, calculating. The guards raised their weapons instinctively, but a motion from the queen stopped them. A subtle lift of her hand, firm and commanding. "No one touches him," she said, her voice softer now yet still imbued with authority. The twins ran to her, Lyra leaping into her mother's arms while Keo clung to her leg. The queen's mask of control faltered, and for a brief moment, Evan saw a flash of vulnerability in her eyes, tears welling as she held her children close. Evan swallowed hard. Unsure if he was being thanked or condemned. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice quiet. I mean, why now?" The Queen's eyes softened slightly as she regarded him. "I came for my children," she said, "and I see that they have been kept safe by a human." Evan's heart skipped a beat. The twins looked up at him, their small faces shining with relief and love. He felt a pang of both pride and fear. Pride because he had done his duty as a guardian. Fear because he had no idea what consequences this encounter might bring. The Queen's presence was overwhelming, yet there was a gravity in her gaze that made Evan realize something important. She was not here merely to reclaim her children. She was here to understand why a human had dared to protect them, to see if the stories he had told them of courage, kindness, and hope had any truth behind them. "Human," she said, her voice almost a whisper now. "Why did you take them? Why did you hide them?" Evan looked at Lyra and Keo and then back at her. "I found them alone," he said simply. "They were scared. They had no one. I couldn't leave them. I couldn't let them die." Her gaze softened further, though it still held an intensity that made him shiver. "Do you know what you have done?" she asked. "By hiding them, you risked your life and defied galactic law. Humans are not known for their mercy, nor for their loyalty to the Volari." "I didn't care about laws," Evan said, his voice steady despite the tension. "I cared about them. That's all that mattered." The Queen was silent for a long moment, studying him, and for the first time, Evan sensed a shift, a recognition that perhaps not all humans were like the ones who had caused her people pain. She took a step closer, her presence radiating both warmth and authority. "You have given them what I could not," she said quietly. "A home, a family, safety. Tell me, why?" Evan's voice trembled slightly. "Because I lost my own family in the war, and when I found them in that pod crying and alone, I heard the same sound my daughter made before she died. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't walk away." The Queen's eyes glimmered with unshed tears. She reached out and touched Lyra's cheek, then Keo's, and finally glanced at Evan again. "You have risked everything for children who are not your own," she said. "That is something even I cannot ignore." The guard shifted uneasily, but the Queen's hand rose again. "Leave him be," she commanded. "He is the one who protected my heirs." Evan exhaled slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing just slightly. He had expected confrontation, interrogation, perhaps even punishment, but instead he felt a strange mix of relief and wonder. He had done the right thing, and somehow, against all odds, the Queen recognized it. Lyra and Keo clung to him briefly before turning back to their mother. Can he come with us?" Lyra asked, her voice small and hopeful. Keo echoed, "He's our dad." The Queen looked at Evan, her expression unreadable. She was a ruler, a mother, and now an observer of a human who had proven himself braver than any soldier she had known. For a moment she allowed herself to simply see him. A man who had risked everything out of love, not duty, not politics, not fear. "You may accompany us," she said carefully, "for now. But understand, human, that your place among the Volari is not guaranteed. You will be watched, and you will be judged. Do not fail them." Evan nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her words. He had spent years hiding in silence, raising 2 alien children, and now the world beyond Station 9 had finally found him. Whatever came next, he knew that he would face it. Not as a janitor, not as a mere human, but as a father to Lyra and Keo, a guardian who had protected the last heirs of a royal line. As the Queen led her children back to her ship, Evan followed cautiously. He glanced one last time at the quiet metal halls of Station 9, knowing that his life there had ended. But he also felt something he hadn't in years, hope. For the first time since the war, he felt that perhaps he had done something that truly mattered. The ship's ramp closed behind them, and Evan, holding the hands of the children who now truly called him Dad, stepped into a new future, one filled with stars, responsibility, and the knowledge that a human could indeed make a difference among the alien worlds. Evan Carter had always preferred quiet places. After the long years of war and endless space travel, he had grown tired of chaos, of politics, and of the endless clamor of human settlements. That was why he had chosen the night shift at Station 9, a remote maintenance hub orbiting the small, serene planet of Theralis. The station was mostly empty, its metal corridors echoing with the soft hum of life support systems and the occasional hiss of pressurized doors. Few humans remained on the station, only a handful of workers tasked with essential repairs and cleaning. Evan had made this place his sanctuary, the perfect space for a man who wanted nothing more than to sweep the halls, fix broken panels, and polish floors until they gleamed under the pale lights. But Evan harbored a secret, one that could have cost him his life if discovered. Hidden deep within one of the unused maintenance quarters were two small children, no ordinary humans. Their skin shimmered with faint luminescent markings, their eyes silver and liquid, reflecting every flicker of light in the room. These were Lyra and Keo, twin orphans of the Valari species, the last survivors of a destroyed royal convoy. Their ship had been obliterated during the war, leaving them adrift in a damaged escape pod until Evan had found them, shivering and crying, with no trace of the adults who were supposed to protect them. At first, Evan had hesitated. He was only a janitor now, far from a soldier or diplomat. He had no right to interfere with alien politics or royal succession. But when he looked into their tiny, terrified faces, he remembered the daughter he had lost to the war. He remembered her laughter, her cries, and the hollow ache of knowing he could not save her. The moment he found the twins, he made a promise. He would keep them safe. He would give them a home. He would be their father, even if it meant hiding them from the entire galaxy. Raising them in secret was no small task. He had to teach them to speak in both Valari and Basic, to read, to walk through hallways without leaving evidence of their presence. He told them stories of Earth, of oceans that stretched beyond sight, of forests where sunlight dappled through green leaves, of rain falling softly on rooftops. Lyra loved these stories, always asking for more about the blue skies and gentle rivers. Keo preferred stories of courage, of heroes who faced impossible odds and fought for what was right. Evan would watch them with pride, feeling a strange sense of purpose he had not known since his daughter had been lost. The station itself was quiet, almost too quiet. For months, Evan had noticed unusual patrols in the sector surrounding Theralis. Ships scanning without identification, seemingly searching for something. He had brushed it off at first, convincing himself that the twins were safe, that Station 9's isolation would shield them. But a part of him always feared discovery. The galaxy had laws, rules about alien species, especially Valari royalty. If the authorities found Lyra and Keo, they would be taken to a lab or worse. He had learned to ignore the fear, but it never fully went away. On this night, the twins played in the small living space Evan had arranged for them. Lyra was crouched on the floor, glowing chalk in her hand, sketching patterns on the wall. The soft lines of light traced shapes that danced as she moved, tiny trails of magic in the sterile room. Keo was building a tower of blocks, stacking them carefully only to knock them down with a delighted giggle. Evan moved silently along the corridor, checking the station systems, wiping away dust from panels, listening to the familiar hum of electricity. The routine was comforting, a small measure of control in a universe that had long since taught him that control was an illusion. Then the lights flickered. It started as a brief hiccup, almost imperceptible, but soon it grew into a steady, insistent pulse that set Evan's nerves on edge. The soft hum of the station became punctuated by a warning beep. A notification flashed on the console before him. Unauthorized docking, incoming vessel. He froze. There was only one insignia that could appear on such a readout, the crest of Valor Prime. His heart thumped violently in his chest. A massive silver vessel appeared, outside the station's observation window, dwarfing Station 9 itself. Its hull gleamed under the pale floodlights, and every movement of the crew aboard was precise, deliberate, almost surgical. Figures in dark, glimmering armor descended onto the platform with measured steps, and then she appeared, stepping through the hangar doors, her presence commanding and impossible to ignore. Queen Seraphine of Valar, the ruler of a devastated world thought to have lost everything. The woman whose children Evan had raised in secret. Her eyes glowed like twin suns, her gaze both commanding and suffused with grief. Human. Her voice cut through the hum of the station, smooth and calm, yet carrying a weight that made Evan's knees weaken. "Where are my children?" The twins froze, their glowing markings brightening with instinctive recognition. Lyra's small hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide, as she whispered, "Mother?" Keo mirrored her gesture, muttering, "Mom." In a tiny, trembling voice, Evan's mind raced. He had anticipated danger, the patrols, Maybe even a visit from the authorities, but not this. Not the Queen herself. He wanted to speak, to explain, to plead that he had only protected them. But his voice seemed to disappear, swallowed by the enormity of the moment. The Queen's gaze swept over him, piercing, analyzing, as if trying to measure the worth of a human against the lives of her children. The armored guards raised their weapons reflexively, but a simple motion from Seraphine stopped them. A lift of her hand, subtle but commanding. "No one touches him," she said, her voice now softer, almost private, yet carrying authority that brooked no challenge. Lyra ran to her mother first, throwing herself into her arms, her small frame trembling. Keo followed, clinging to her leg. For the first time in years, the Queen's composed mask broke, and Evan saw the glint of tears in her alien eyes. The children had survived, and she was both relieved and furious, overwhelmed by the mixture of grief and gratitude that flooded her expression. Evan took a step forward, his voice quiet, tentative. "I found them alone. I couldn't leave them. I couldn't let them die." The Queen's eyes softened fractionally. "Do you know what you have done?" she asked, her voice low but powerful. "Hiding them, raising them as your own is treason by both Valari law and Galactic treaty. Humans are not known for such mercy." "I didn't care about laws," Evan replied steadily. "I cared about them. That's all that mattered." Her gaze lingered on him, intense, examining, weighing. Then she stepped closer, the glowing aura around her dimming slightly as she observed the man who had defied both human and Valari expectations to protect two helpless children. "You gave them what I could not," she said softly. "Safety, love, a family." "Tell me, why?" Evan swallowed, feeling the memory of his own loss wash over him. "Because I lost my own family. And when I found them in that pod, crying, helpless, I heard the same sound my daughter made before she died. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't walk away." Tears gleamed in the Queen's eyes now, unshed but threatening. She reached out, touching Lyra's cheek gently, then Keo's before looking at Evan again. "You have risked everything for children who are not your own. That is something even I cannot ignore." The guards shifted uneasily, glancing at one another. The Queen's hand rose again, and with a single word she commanded, "Leave him be. He is the one who protected my heirs." Evan exhaled, relief washing through him. He had expected confrontation, maybe imprisonment or worse, but instead he felt a strange blend of gratitude and disbelief. He had done the right thing, and somehow the Queen recognized it. Lyra looked up at him, hope shining in her glowing eyes. Can he come with us?" she asked softly. Keo echoed, "He's our dad." The Queen's expression was unreadable, but Evan could feel the shift in her aura, a mixture of awe and cautious respect. "You may accompany us," she said carefully, "but understand this, human. Your place among the Valari is not assured. You will be watched, judged, and measured. Fail them and the consequences will be severe." Evan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He had spent years hiding in silence, raising two alien children, and now the universe had finally found him. Whatever came next, he would face it. Not as a janitor, not merely as a human, but as a father and protector of the last heirs of Valar. The children held his hands as the Queen led them back to her ship, the quiet halls of Station 9 fading behind them. The ship's ramp closed, sealing off the past, and Evan realized that his simple life had ended. But for the first time in years, he felt something he had almost forgotten: hope. He had done something that mattered. He had protected life, and the universe had acknowledged it. He glanced at Lyra and Keo, who now clung to him freely, their trust absolute. He smiled. For the first time since the war, the human janitor felt that he truly belonged somewhere, among the stars, with a queen who once might have feared him, and two children who called him father.